My fiancé is the proud and aloof professor of Jing University, the underprivileged student he sponsored, in an attempt to cling to him, secretly pulled tricks at our engagement banquet, to prevent the long-prepared engagement banquet from being ruined. I swapped out the spiked drink she had prepared. Unexpectedly, a twist of fate left her vulnerable to exploitation. In the end, her reputation was utterly destroyed, and she jumped to her death. After her tragic death, my fiancé forced me to kneel and kowtow before her grave, torturing me until I died. It was only then that I realized she was the one true love of my fiancé's life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the engagement banquet, after enduring hours of humiliation. I was still tortured to death by Ji Yanchuan. On the first anniversary of our marriage, on the anniversary of the poor student's death, the bone-chilling cold water poured over me, and I felt as if I were in hell. In my hand was the research project I had just secured for him. But I hadn't had the chance to tell him the good news yet. I looked up at him. The proud and noble professor of Jing University, Ji Yanchuan, now had eyes that were burning, dark, and wild, as if he wanted to devour me. Does it hurt? Ji Yanchuan pinched my chin, forcing a strong mix of alcohol and a strange, eerie fragrance down my throat, making me cough uncontrollably. I felt nauseous and asked him in disbelief, Ji Yanchuan, why? Ji Yanchuan turned around and ordered the bodyguards to drag me up. I was too weak to resist, being ruthlessly dragged across the ground like livestock. I don't know how long it took, but I was dragged to the cemetery. The bodyguard forcefully pressed my head down, making me kowtow to the owner of the tombstone again and again. The heavy rain washed over the tombstone, also cleansing the blood from my face. When she was being blamed by so many people, she felt 1,000 times more miserable than you do now. You should just atone for her sins properly. Ji Yanchuan shed his usual refined and courteous demeanor, his eyes filled with a bone-deep hatred. The effect of the medication made my mind sluggish, and it took me a long time to recall this obscure name. At my engagement banquet with Ji Yanchuan, she attempted to tamper with his drink. I should have made this public, but I didn't want to ruin the engagement banquet I had worked so hard to prepare, so I quietly instructed the waiter to remove the glass, without making a scene. Who would have thought that the drugged glass of wine would, by a twist of fate, be drunk by a notorious wealthy playboy? Later, when she was caught in the throes of passion in the lounge and discovered by everyone, relying on his family's power and influence, that man insisted that when she had deliberately seduced him, trying to climb the social ladder through him. Later, the video leaked, when she not only lost her recommendation for admission but also endured public scorn, ultimately choosing to jump from a tall building. When Ji Yanchuan saw Wen-Shi's body, his face could not hide his disgust. It was my initial misjudgment to have sponsored such a student, even if we appeared to respect each other on the surface. We were the loving couple that outsiders envied. He was convinced that I had ruined Wen-Shi's life, that I was the one who caused her death. Soon, the effects of the medicine took hold. Ji Yanchuan merely stared at me coldly, his gaze icy as frost. Lin Qingnian, I've prepared a grand gift for you. Enjoy it well. The door swung open, and the blinding light forced me to raise my hand to shield my eyes. All around me were various obese and greasy men, gathered nearby, eyeing me hungrily. Mr. Shen, don't think about ending your life. The night is long, let's enjoy ourselves properly. Lin Qingnian, go ahead and atone for your sins in hell. With that, Ji Yanchuan didn't even spare me a condescending glance as he turned and left, leaving me alone to face the endless darkness. The room was stained crimson with my blood. After my death, Ji Yanchuan publicly claimed that I had an extramarital affair and died accidentally while seeking thrills. Meanwhile, Ji Yanchuan, amidst everyone's sympathy, steadily climbed to a higher platform. When I opened my eyes again, I looked at the familiar banquet and couldn't help but feel dazed. Am I back at the engagement banquet? In my past life, my eyes were full of Ji Yanchuan. Every detail of the banquet was personally arranged by me. Yet he wore an expression of utter indifference. But back then, Ji Yanchuan had probably already fallen for Wen-Shi. though he was reluctant to let go of a powerful yet brainless fiancé. Do you have any idea how important this banquet is to our company? If you make such a low-level mistake again, don't bother working for me anymore. At the banquet, a harsh scolding interrupted my thoughts. Drinks from the tray were spilled everywhere, leaving a scene of utter disarray. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time. When she quickly bowed. The head waiter, seeing her sincere apology, gave a few words of advice and then left. But when she turned around, she quickly sprinkled the powder hidden in her sleeve into the wine glass beside her. That glass of wine, without a doubt, would be drunk by Ji Yanchuan. In my past life, unwilling to let my meticulously prepared engagement banquet be ruined, I merely instructed a servant to secretly swap the glass of wine in response to Wenxi's actions. Unexpectedly, that glass of wine was mistakenly drunk by a wealthy playboy, leading to Wenxi being caught in bed with him. Entangled in passion, the wealthy playboy, relying on his power and influence, insisted that Wenxi had seduced him. Later, the video was deliberately leaked by someone. Wenxi's reputation was completely ruined, and she ultimately chose to end her life by jumping from a tall building. Who would have thought that Ji Yanchuan could fall in love with someone like that? In this life, I will wholeheartedly help this perfect couple find their happiness. As expected, without my interference, Ji Yanchuan unknowingly drank the spiked beverage. When she kept casting glances from another corner, and upon seeing Ji Yanchuan drink it, a triumphant smile curled at the corners of her lips. Within a quarter of an hour, the drug took effect on Ji Yanchuan. His breathing grew increasingly rapid, and he kept leaning toward me. I supported him with one hand while using the other to keep him from getting any closer to me. Yanchuan, are you okay? Why is your face so red? Are you drunk? Hearing me say this, when she quickly ran over to me and said with a confident look, Miss Lin, I am Professor Ji's student. Thanks to Professor Ji, I have the opportunity to work part-time here. It seems Professor Ji can't hold his liquor well and is drunk. I'll help him upstairs to rest. The moment he saw Wenxi, Ji Yanchuan's body stiffened for an instant, but he quickly regained his aloof expression. My affairs are none of your business. My fiancé will take care of me. Hearing Ji Yanchuan's cold words, Wenxi bit her lip hard, refusing to let her tears fall. Sensing my gaze, Ji Yanchuan looked up and explained to me gently, Qingnian, Wenxi is a student I sponsor. Because of her poor family background, I've taken care of her a bit, but she's still young. Don't hold it against her. Hearing Ji Yanchuan's cold words, Wenxi bit her lip hard, refusing to let her tears fall. Professor, I'm just worried about you. Worried about me. Wenxi, we are nothing more than teacher and student. You've overstepped your bounds. Ji Yanchuan parted his thin lips and responded coldly. Despite the distance in Ji Yanchuan's eyes, he couldn't conceal the deep affection within them. Unfortunately, when she didn't catch the protectiveness in Ji Yanchuan's words, she turned to me and said indignantly, I'm just a student by Professor Ji's side. Are you even jealous of me? Are you trying to restrict Professor Ji's freedom? As Professor Ji's fiancé, bullying a student like me here, are you worthy of your status as his fiancé? After when she said these words, a visible panic appeared in Ji Yanchuan's eyes. I silently watched Ji Yanchuan, and after a long while, I curled a smile. Are you so concerned about Yanchuan because you want me to give up my position as his fiancé to you? I looked at Wenxi with a mocking smile and raised my hand to slap her hard across the face. Compared to Wenxi's delicate and fragile demeanor, I have been a regular at various gyms all year round. With a single slap, a red, swollen handprint quickly appeared on Wenxi's flawless face, puffing up prominently. A flicker of distress crossed Ji Yanchuan's face, but he quickly concealed it. He gently took my hand with concern. Qingnian, did it hurt? Why bother arguing with a young girl who hasn't even entered society yet? It doesn't suit your image as the heiress of the Lin family. After saying this, Ji Yanchuan turned around and scolded Wenxi. Get out of here now. Can't you see you've angered my fiancé? Wenxi covered her swollen cheek, glaring at me with resentment. How dare you hit me? Even if you're Professor G's fiancé and the eldest daughter of the Lin family, you have no right to strike me. What gives you the right to force someone as good as Professor G to marry someone he doesn't love? You're holding him back. In my past life, I swapped Ji Yanchuan's glass, so I never got to hear this absurd and ridiculous reasoning of hers. Don't like me. Should I like a brainless waste like you instead? Seeing that when she still wanted to say something, Ji Yanchuan coldly interrupted her. When-She, look at your own status. What right do you have to criticize my fiancé? You don't need to follow me to the academic research tomorrow. Reflect on yourself properly. Ji Yanchuan had just finished speaking when he turned to look at me. His eyes filled with an unshakable desire. Qingnian. I quickly stepped back 2 paces, afraid he might lunge at me. Seeing When-She's slightly reddened eyes, I pretended to be understanding and said, tomorrow's academic research is related to the latest progress in our country's newest academic field. It would be too great a loss for him not to go. Turning my head, I met When-She's lingering resentment that she hadn't yet withdrawn. I pretended not to notice and continued. Since you want to take care of Yanchuan, I'll punish you by taking him downstairs to rest. The waitstaff should know how to take care of someone, right? The thick jealousy in When-She's eyes vanished in an instant, and her tone was filled with joy she couldn't hide. Of course I'll take good care of Professor G. Do you think everyone is as neglectful of Professor G as you are? Ji Yanchuan, whose eyes were already red, felt the warmth beside him and, disregarding my presence, pressed his entire body against When-She. I quietly followed the 2 of them, and sure enough, When-She had taken Ji Yanchuan to the bed. The banquet was bustling, and no one would notice the waitstaff's break room. A furious rebuke from Ji Yanchuan echoed in the room. When-She, how dare you lay a hand on me? You know I already have a fiancé. When-She took off her clothes while speaking gently. I know. But I have admired Professor G for many years. Even if it means being just a lover by his side, I wouldn't mind. Yanchuan, why are you rejecting me? Is it because I'm not as wealthy as that Lin Qingnian? I sneered. When I, Lin Qingnian, founded my first company on my own. She didn't even know where she was yet. Ji Yanchuan's angry shouts grew quieter, while the sounds of intimacy in the room continued unabated. I slipped away silently, specifically ordering that no one was allowed to come here. Returning to the banquet, I acted as if nothing had happened and continued chatting with those around me. I watched the clock slowly tick, a playful smile curling at the corners of my lips. Mother Ji hadn't seen Ji Yanchuan for a long time, so she walked over and asked me with dissatisfaction, Qingnian, I haven't seen Yanchuan in a while. Do you know where he's gone? He's a nationally and internationally renowned professor who holds so many state secrets. How can you feel at ease letting him go alone, even before we were married? Mother Ji had already started putting on the airs of an elder. I sneered inwardly, but kept a smile on my face. Yanchuan isn't much of a drinker. He had a couple of glasses and got a bit tipsy, so I've already asked the waiter to help him rest. Yanchuan has never been good with alcohol, and you actually let him get drunk. If it damages his brain, can you afford to pay for that? Mother Ji wasn't about to let it go and continued to scold. Qingnian, I really don't mean to criticize you, but you don't act at all like Yanchuan's future wife. Thank goodness our families know each other and arranged the childhood betrothal early on. If it were someone else acting like this, I would never let Yanchuan marry her. In my past life, it was always the same, everything was my fault. They belittled me as worthless, and in the end, tricked me into signing the property transfer agreement. I composed my expression, lowering my head just as I had in my past life. I'm sorry, Auntie. I'll go find Yanchuan right away. The hall on the first floor. The lounge on the second floor. Of course, there was no sign of Ji Yanchuan. Uncle, Auntie, something terrible. Yanchuan is gone. My panicked voice cut through the clamor of the banquet. And the security guards immediately set out to search for Ji Yanchuan. Father and Mother Ji also hurriedly looked for Ji Yanchuan, but there was no trace of him anywhere in the entire banquet hall. Finally, they discovered that staff break room. The ambiguous sounds emanating from the room were incessant. enough to make one's cheeks flush and heart race. My face flushed with anger, and I shouted, "How dare you? A mere waiter dares to do such a thing at my engagement banquet. This is an outright disrespect to me and the G family." Father G's face darkened, as if covered in a layer of frost. "Break the door down." The door swung open, clothes scattered everywhere. I pressed my lips tightly together, my eyes dark and deep. As I strode straight toward the large bed behind the screen, the crowd of onlookers behind me surged in, following my footsteps. The two on the bed were deeply entangled, completely unaware of our arrival. "Yen Chuan, you too." My voice trembled slightly. Only then did Ji Yanchuan snap out of it, pushing Wenxi off him and covering her with the blanket. Ji Yanchuan's body was covered in a trail of hickeys. And everyone present was no fool, they could tell at a glance what had happened. Wenxi was the first to get dressed, stepping in front of Ji Yanchuan to shield him. Ji's father was furious, his face flushed red with rage. "Today is the day of your engagement to Qingnian. How could you do something like this?" I also spoke up at the right moment, my eyes slightly reddened, tears trembling on the verge of falling. "Yanchuan, if you don't like me, you can say it directly. We can call off the engagement. How can I and the Lin family hold our heads up after what you've done? After all, without my Lin family, Ji Yanchuan would never have achieved what he has today. Let me see, in this life without me, how far Ji Yanchuan can go in loving Wenxi." Hearing that I wanted to call off the engagement, Father Ji rushed forward in a single stride and slapped Wenxi hard across the face. Where did this shameless waiter come from, daring to seduce Yanchuan? Wenxi turned her face to the side from the slap, lowering her eyes, not daring to look at Father Ji. "Everything was me being infatuated, wanting to take advantage of the situation to win Professor Jit's all my fault." Hearing Wenxi still defending him under such circumstances, Ji Yanchuan's protective instincts were stirred. Ji Yanchuan no longer pretended to be refined and courteous. Under the gaze of the crowd, he pulled Wenxi into his embrace. Wenxi also took the opportunity to lean on Ji Yanchuan. What a devoted couple they are. There's no such thing as seduction or not. We have each other in our hearts. I like Wenxi, no matter what her background is. I will still like her. If it weren't for this damn engagement, I would have been with Cece long ago. You. Uncle was so angry that he couldn't speak. My face completely darkened at that moment. My eyes filled with sorrow. Your feelings with him over all these years were genuine. So what about your feelings with me? We grew up together, and from a young age, I decided you were the only lover in my life. Yet you humiliate me like this. Ji Yanchuan looked straight at me and said with disgust, "Lin Qingnian, you don't actually think I would like someone who comes running like a dog the moment I crook my finger, do you? You look like a clown to me when you obey my every command. It's hilarious." Having gotten the answer I wanted, I feigned pain and left the banquet. Just as I stepped out of the banquet, Mother Ji stopped in front of me and said softly, "Qingnian, this is Yan Chuan's fault. He was just dazzled by that poor student. Once he gets over this novelty, his eyes will surely be on you again. Besides, Yan Chuan only has this one. He's a well-known professor. Isn't it normal for him to have a few lovers? With others, he's just seeking an outlet. You are his home. Besides, it's also your fault for not being capable enough. You say Yan Chuan is a well-known professor. How many women he's met are better than you? And you still couldn't keep his heart." Such ridiculous words again. In her eyes, it's only natural for a man to cheat. Just as I was thinking about how to refuse, the butler arrived by car. I managed a weak smile. "Sorry, Auntie, I need some time to calm down." When I got home, my mother looked at me with concern. "Qingnian, it was your father and I who misjudged people, causing you to suffer such great humiliation at the banquet. In the vast city of there are countless men who want to marry you. You can't be heartbroken over Ji Yanchuan. Wouldn't calling off the engagement be playing right into Ji Yanchuan's hands? A love that hasn't faced trials can never withstand the test of time. Let me see how far Ji Yanchuan is willing to go," I said with a gentle smile. "Mother, I'm not as fragile as you think. The next day, I visited the Lin family. As I expected. From the wealthy and powerful to the common people, everyone was talking about how Professor G was involved with another man at the engagement banquet. Seeing me at his door, Ji Yanchuan looked impatient. I'm not even married. So what's the big deal if I sleep with other women? What era is it now? Isn't it normal to have been with a few women before marriage? It still seemed unable to vent the anger in his heart, as he continued to shout at me. Lin Qingnian. We grew up together. Now you've made a scene known to the whole city. Forcing me into such an embarrassing posiciondo, you have to do this. A few short sentences. And I watched Uncle G's face turn red with anger as he said furiously. Still unrepentant even now. I think you're completely blinded by greed. Someone, bring me the whip. His uncle also made a firm decision, lashing Ji Yanchuan's back fiercely with a whip. Ji Yanchuan had been pampered since childhood. How could he have endured such torment? Just a few hits in, Ji Yanchuan let out a pig-like squeal of mercy. When I died in my previous life, I suffered 100 times more pain than he is experiencing now. This is just a small fraction of the interest. Ji Yanchuan's shout startled Mother Ji. Ji's mother watched as Ji's father's strikes grew heavier, and she directly threw herself onto Ji Yanchuan's body, tears in her eyes. Enough. We only have one child. Yanchuan. Do you really want to beat him to death? He turned around and knelt before me again. Qingnian. Your aunt knows you've always been sensible. Yanchuan is still your fiancé now. Can you bear to see him suffer? Besides Yanchuan, can you marry someone better? Auntie is thinking about you. Ji's mother leaned in, trying to grab my sleeve. But I sidestepped to avoid her. Mother Ji's face stiffened for a moment before she continued to console her. Just think about it. Yanchuan became a professor at Jing University at such a young age. His future prospects are limitless. Ridiculous. In all these years, has Ji Yanchuan achieved anything in any field without the support of my Lin family? Since Ji Yanchuan only has love on his mind, let him pursue his love wholeheartedly. Ji Yanchuan ultimately couldn't bear to watch his parents act so humbly. With a cold face and gritted teeth, he said, Lin Qingnian, don't go too far. If you have the guts, let's call off the engagement. A strange smile slowly curled at the corner of my mouth as I said to Uncle Ji in a slow voice, Uncle, I've thought it over carefully. Marriage is indeed not a game. Since you all advise me so earnestly, I suppose I have nothing more to say. It seemed that he hadn't expected me to agree so easily. A flicker of surprise crossed Uncle Ji's face. But I want Ji Yanchuan to kneel and apologize to me, I continued. Uncle Ji turned his head and roared at Ji Yanchuan. Apologize to Qingnian right now. Did Ji Yanchuan not know the benefits of latching onto my family? Of course he did. He was simply lost in the fantasy of Lin Qingnian, who was devoted to him, never expecting that I would humiliate him so thoroughly in front of everyone. This time, the roles were reversed. Ji Yanchuan was pinned down by the bodyguards, his head thudding heavily against the ground. Qingnian, this was my fault. It was my momentary carelessness that fell for when-she's scheme, and I blame myself for not controlling my emotions well. He whispered to me. Lin Qingnian, I advise you not to go too far. If you have issues, take them up with me, but don't make things difficult for Cici. I merely cast a faint glance at him, a scornful smile curling at the corner of my lips. What was he thinking when, in my past life, he made me kowtow before when-she's grave? When she, on the other hand, took the opportunity to approach me, on the day we met, when she appeared frail and delicate, and before she even spoke, she gave the impression that I had wronged her. Mr. Shen. All the faults are mine. Please don't hold it against Professor G. It's my own twisted mind, and I deserve the retribution. But please don't let this create a rift between you and Professor G. Before I could speak, an unpleasant voice rang out from behind me. Lin Qingnian, are you still not willing to let Cici go? If I hadn't seen Cici today, I wouldn't have known how badly you've been bullying him. Don't think I don't know what you've been doing to you by these past few days. Ji Yanchuan stood in front of when-she, as if I were some heinous criminal. where Ji Yanchuan couldn't see. When she shot me a look tinged with provocation, I couldn't be bothered to argue right or wrong with Ji Yanchuan anymore. After all, in her eyes, I was an unforgivable sinner, and when she was the pitiful victim. After this farce, Ji Yanchuan was determined to call off the engagement, even threatening his own life to do so. His father had no choice but to agree. On the day they went to break off the engagement, Ji Yanchuan held his head high with arrogance. In the end, it's still me who abandoned you. I silently watched him, offering no reply. This look in Ji Yanchuan's eyes only made it seem like I couldn't bear to let him go. What are you looking at? This expression of yours is the most disgusting. There's no way I'd be with someone as ruthless as you. In his eyes, I was born to bully when-she anyway. Ji Yanchuan, I think you've misunderstood. I stopped liking you a long time ago, I said coldly, lowering my head to continue with what I was doing. Hearing this, Ji Yanchuan's pride, built up over the years, instantly crumbled. How is that possible? If you don't like me, why do you always help me whenever I hit a bottleneck in my research? Who am I helping if not you? It's just that you happen to be an engaged man, and I happen to have the resources. Ji Yanchuan ran over frantically, reaching out to grab me, but I sidestepped and dodged him. Clearly, Ji Yanchuan didn't believe me, but I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. After all that drama, the engagement was ultimately called off. The engagement had just been called off when Ji Yanchuan eagerly sought out when-she. Unconcerned with public opinion, the two began frequently appearing together as a pair, coming and going from the laboratory. When Ji's father got word of this, he was so furious that he threatened to disown Ji Yanchuan and no longer recognize him as his son. Upon learning of this, Ji Yanchuan still couldn't care less. If I'm not fit to be your son, then so be it. In your eyes, I'm nothing but a tool for you to curry favor with the powerful. Without this father of mine, I will surely carve out my own place in the scientific research world. When the news reached my ears, I couldn't help but let out a light chuckle. What a fool. Without the support of his family behind him, what could a mediocre professor like him possibly achieve? Within a month, Ji Yanchuan couldn't stand the sharp decline in his quality of life and clamored to return to the Ji family. After all, he was their own child. No matter how angry Ji's father and mother were, they couldn't bear to see Ji Yanchuan suffer outside. But no one knew what methods when-she used. Within just half a year, she actually managed to make Ji's father and mother accept a student from a humble background. On the day of Ji Yanchuan and when-she's wedding, they jointly published a paper that broke through the foreign stranglehold. On the second day after his marriage, Ji Yanchuan, beaming with joy, brought when-she to visit. The moment he saw me, Ji Yanchuan lifted his chin arrogantly. Lin Qingnian, do you regret not marrying me? Originally, you could have shared in this achievement, but who told you to be so ungrateful? Watching Ji Yanchuan's smug and arrogant demeanor, I let out a disdainful smile. Regret? Ji Yanchuan, it was you who called off the engagement. Now that you've come to visit, are you the one having second thoughts? Hearing this, when she finally spoke up from the side, Sister Lin, please don't be upset. Although you and Yanchuan are no longer destined to be husband and wife, you can still be friends. We came here this time to give you this opportunity. Suppressing the disgust in my heart, I asked with confusion, oh, what opportunity? As you know how important our newly published scientific research results are, we still need funding to continue. If you're willing to sponsor us, I can reluctantly be friends with you. Ji Yanchuan looked at me with a condescending gaze. I sneered. Is this your attitude when asking for something? Did you really think I wanted to be friends with you? Ji Yanchuan's face twisted with rage at my words. Do you really think I can't find anyone else to fund me besides you? Lin Qingnian, I'm giving you a chance right now. Don't be ungrateful. When-she beside her continued to flatter her. That's right, Sister Lin. If you miss this opportunity, you'll regret it later when it's too late. How many people can be like Yanchuan? You should cherish him. Too lazy to listen to their nonsense, I said coldly. No need. See them out. Ji Yanchuan and when-she were reluctantly shown out the door. Before leaving, Ji Yanchuan turned his head and shot me a fierce glare. I sneered disdainfully. Your good days are still ahead of you. What Ji Yanchuan didn't know was that ever since the engagement banquet ended, I had used my memories from my past life to sponsor a future scientific genius. Shen Ji. Why are you helping me? You and I have no connection at all. After I stated my purpose, Shen Ji looked at me warily. Because we have a common enemy, Ji Yanchuan. I know he has been exploiting you for years, relying on the backing of others. Cooperate with me, and I can ruin his reputation. After I finished speaking calmly, I quietly waited for his response. All right. Happy cooperation. In the previous life, if Ji Yanchuan hadn't relied on the capital behind him to throw his weight around and recklessly seize others' achievements, Shen Ji wouldn't have only shone brightly after Ji Yanchuan withdrew from the scientific research community. And the paper Ji Yanchuan just published was actually written by Shen Ji. After the two farces of the engagement party and the broken engagement, Ji Yanchuan was so condemned by the world that he couldn't hold his head up, desperately needing something to prove himself. At that moment, just as I expected, he sought out Shen Ji. Following my arrangement, Shen Ji handed over the results of his latest research to Ji Yanchuan. As soon as he obtained these results, Ji Yanchuan couldn't wait to publish them. Let him enjoy a few days of fame and fortune. In the following days, with my push, Ji Yanchuan was repeatedly exposed for academic plagiarism. At first, no one believed it, but as the evidence piled up one after another, the voices of doubt online gradually faded away. Next, Ji Yanchuan's students filed a real name report accusing him of exploiting students and stealing their achievements. Now, Ji Yanchuan is like a rat crossing the street, spat upon wherever he goes. A thief still dares to show his face on the street. How many talents in this country have been disheartened by people like you? How much will the nation lose? In his past life, everyone praised Ji Yanchuan, calling him noble, virtuous, and indifferent to fame and fortune. Now, every street and alley is cursing Ji Yanchuan for his improper conduct and unworthiness of his position. The Ji family stepped in personally and managed to suppress the trending topic overnight. The situation gradually calmed down, but Ji Yanchuan's reputation took a sharp downturn. Now Ji Yanchuan's self-esteem was at its most fragile. And even the slightest disobedience from when-she would trigger his rage. Even you dare to look down on me. If it weren't for me, you'd just be a poor student. How could you ever live in a villa like this? Later, Ji Yanchuan began to frequently appear in various clubs, his private life descending into chaos. As for when-she, I had no idea which corner of his mind she had been forgotten in. I thought Ji Yanchuan could love so deeply, but in the end, his first love turned into a grain of rice on his clothes. President Shen. When-she and Lu Zi went together to when-she's hotel. I looked at the message sent by my subordinate, got up, and headed to when-she's rental apartment, listening to the sounds from the room that seemed oblivious to the world. I found it amusing. It was just a few hits from Ji Yanchuan, and she couldn't take it anymore, so she used his money to keep a male lover. Lu Zi was good-looking and knew how to please others, far better than Ji Yanchuan in every way. As things grew intense, when-she gasped and said in a low voice, "Zi, let's leave together. I've had enough of Ji Yanchuan, that abusive man." I anonymously sent this news to Ji Yanchuan. How could this drama be complete without him? As expected, as soon as Ji Yanchuan received the message, he immediately rushed to the rental house. By the time Ji Yanchuan brought people over, the two had just finished and were heading out the door. Ji Yanchuan looked at the two people clinging together, his rage boiling over, and directly slapped him across the face. "You slut! I gave you the best food and drink, and yet you ended up rolling around with another man." When-she's face was twisted to the side from the slap. Thinking of Lu Zi's sweet talk, she finally stood her ground for once. "You can cheat, so why can't I? When you were flirting with those women, did you ever think of me? Ji Yanchuan, back then, in front of so many people, you would openly give me your love." Upon hearing when-she's words, Ji Yanchuan didn't get angry but instead laughed. "Me, Cheating. Don't you know you were the one who climbed up as the other woman? What right do you have to accuse me of cheating? I have money and power, what kind of woman can't I get? Back then, it was just a fleeting novelty. Did you really think you were something special? Lu Ziyi watched the two of them arguing, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire, and quickly left. When she watched Lu Ziyi walk away from her, and fear finally crept into her heart. She was nothing more than a dog kept by Ji Yanchuan by his side, petted and teased when he felt like it. Between them, there was never any talk of equality. Yanchuan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. You can punish me however you want when we get back. When she knelt before Ji Yanchuan, begging for his forgiveness. Boring. I thought when she would at least hold her ground to the end. I left the farce utterly unamused. Mutual affection turned into mutual hatred. This farce ended with when she being tied up and taken back to the Ji family. What would Ji Yanchuan from the previous life think upon seeing this outcome? In the end, unable to bear Ji Yanchuan's torment, when she sneaked out of the Ji family and came to me, I helped her hold a press conference. At the press conference, the scars on Wenxi's body were shocking. And Ji Yanchuan's heinous acts were finally exposed one by one. It turned out that after when she was tied up and taken back to the Lin family, Ji Yanchuan locked her in a dark basement, where she endured daily abuse from him. This completely ruined Ji Yanchuan's reputation. And with my push behind the scenes, his name plummeted to rock bottom. Later, the Ji family was exposed for tax evasion, forcing the entire family to move out of their villa and live in a cramped rental apartment. Ji Yanchuan couldn't stand his family crammed into a cramped rental apartment, so he came running to beg me. At this moment, Ji Yanchuan was disheveled and unkempt. He was a far cry from the noble and upright Professor Ji of his past life. Ji Yanchuan groveled before me like a stray dog, humbly begging for my charity. Qingnian, we've been each other's first love since childhood. Everything is my fault. I couldn't tell the fake from the real. I made you lose face. It's all my fault. Please help me. Don't you like me? If you give me money, I'll let you keep me. Hearing his fanciful words, I sneered. Don't think I don't know how many women you've slept with. Aren't you disgusted with yourself? You think you're worthy of sleeping with me? My words seemed to provoke him. Ji Yanchuan looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Lin Qingnian, you have such a cruel heart. We used to be so good. I took a sip of the tea the butler had brought. Good. That was before the fiasco at the engagement banquet. If when she had died at that banquet, would you have blamed everything on me? Ji Yanchuan hung his head in silence. I knew he would. As for now, I only feel disgust towards you. Ji Yanchuan was completely disheartened and collapsed to the ground. Drag him out. Seeing that Ji Yanchuan hadn't gotten any money from me, Father Ji himself began to have ulterior motives. He sold Ji Yanchuan to a wealthy man with peculiar tastes, reaping considerable benefits from the deal. Unable to endure such torment, Ji Yanchuan ultimately ended his own life by jumping from a tall building. After Ji Yanchuan's death, I visited his tombstone and simply stood there, gazing at him in silence. I never imagined our conflict would end like this. I hope we don't meet in the next life. The grudge from the past life was finally eased at this moment. After learning about it, when she also came to Ji Yanchuan's grave, seeing me there, he was only surprised for a moment before quickly regaining his composure. You know, I really did have feelings for Ji Yanchuan before. I loved his confidence and flamboyance. I loved his brilliance. But later I realized it was all fake. Even though he treated me that way, I still wanted to see him off one last time. On the third day after saying goodbye to Wenxi, his subordinates brought news of Wenxi's suicide. The love and hatred between the two thus came to an end. After learning that I had stood in front of Ji Yanchuan's grave all afternoon, my mother, afraid that I would be too distressed, arranged several blind dates for me overnight. This is the second son of the Wang family. This is the eldest young master of the Lu family. This is... Mother. Please stop. I glanced at the photos and cut off my mother's next words. Mother, I no longer want to decide the rest of my life through an arranged marriage. Her mother asked in confusion. Do you mean you'll never marry or have children? when others are surrounded by their children and grandchildren? Won't you feel envious? Besides, you've only experienced one failed relationship. It's really not a big deal. A girl always needs someone by her side to take care of her. In my past life, I once imagined growing old with Ji Yanchuan, surrounded by children and grandchildren, living a happy life. But in the end, I still ended up disgraced, left with nothing but a tarnished reputation. I looked straight at my mother, my tone firm. Mother, life is as vast as the sea, with mountains and rivers stretching endlessly. Yet in the end, it all amounts to nothing more than this. I have seen many researchers dedicate their entire lives to the nation, never marrying. I have also seen loving couples turn into bitter enemies, and families with many children and grandchildren left with no one to care for them in old age. My father looked at me and let out a sigh. But, how can your mother and I feel at ease? We fully support your desire to dedicate yourself to the country. But that doesn't mean you can't get married. I held my mother's hand and said gently, Mother, those who are meant to love each other will do so without all these preludes. I am fully capable of taking control of my own life. So why should I tie it to someone irrelevant? My parents remained silent for a long time, and I thought they would not agree. Then I heard a long sigh from my father, followed by his deep voice. Your mother and I are not rigid people. Since you have made up your mind, go ahead and do it with confidence. In the days that followed, I donated most of the company's profits to national research institutions. During this time, my contact with Shenji became increasingly frequent. Why are you at the research institute again? Did you miss me? Shenji asked while recording data, having experienced Ji Yanchuan's condescending and arrogant attitude, and then seeing Shenji's straightforward and open demeanor. A faint blush crept up to the tips of my ears. Seeing that I was shy, Shenji continued to press. Miss Lin, I've been pursuing you for so long. Won't you really consider it? Well, I have considered it. I said no more and walked out. Oh, I knew you would. Wait, you actually considered it. Does that mean you agreed? Shenji clung to me, chattering non-stop along the way. I have finally met someone worth spending a lifetime with. In my past life, I was obsessed with romantic entanglements, only to end up with nothing in the end. In this life, I have become a well-known entrepreneur in the country. And I have also found a new life of my own.